actually doing it, sir, I'm not talking for my benefit, right? I've talked for 52 years, basta for me. I'm not interested in talking. But I'm interested to find out if you can also discover the same thing. So that your own life will be totally different, transformed, so that you have no problems, no complexities, no strife, longing, all of the rest of it. That's the reason the speaker is talking. Not for his own gratification, not for his own enjoyment, not for his own fulfillment, all that nonsense. So the controller is the result of thought based upon knowledge, which is the past, and that thought says, I must control that which is happening now, right? The actual. The actual is being, say for example, envy or jealousy, which you all know. And thought says, I must control, I must analyze, I must suppress it or fulfill it. So there is a division, right? The division created by thought. Are you following? So, in this there is deception. Right? The deception lies in the idea the controller is different from that which is to be controlled. Both are created by thought. Right? So the controller is the controlled. I wonder if you see this. Right? So that there is no, if you really understand this, go into this very seriously for yourself, you will see that controller is unnecessary. Only observation is necessary. You understand? When you observe, there is no controller. Or the control, just observing. Observing your envy, say for example. Envy, observe it. Without naming it, without denying it or accepting it, just to see this sensation, this reaction which arises, which has been called envy, and to look at it without the word. You're following all this? Then, when there is no word, because the word represents the past. You're following all this? And when you use the word envy, it strengthens the past. Right? Right? So there is a possibility of living without any sense of control. I am saying this not of the theory, but actually the speaker says what he has done, not what he invents. That there is a life without any sense of control. And therefore no sense of conflict, no sense of division. That can only come into being when there is only pure observation. Got it? Do it and you will see. Do it. Test it out. when there is no conflict whatsoever, what takes place in the mind? You understand? Conflict implies movement, right? Movement is time, right? Time being from here to there, both physically and psychologically. That is, the movement from the center to another center, or the movement from the periphery to another. You follow? There is this constant movement in all of us. Now, if you observe this movement very carefully, and as you observe what takes place in the mind, you're following all this? First, you have understood no authority, the nature of thought being limited, and knowledge, which is stored up in the brain as memory, and that memory acting as thought in action. So knowledge is always part of ignorance. Right? We went into that. So what takes place in the mind? You understand, the mind, as we've gone into it, is not only the capacity to think clearly, objectively, impersonally, and the things that thought has created, technologically, all the rest of it in the world, and thought has also created all the inward problems, right? When one observes all this, the mind has the capacity to act not from thought, but from pure observation. You get this? I want to understand. Please, sirs, all this is logical, is nothing sectarian, nothing Eastern philosophy, none of that. Though the speaker is born in that country called India, he's not an Indian. He's got a passport. That's all. So he's not involved in exotic, romantic nonsense or some strange philosophy. We are only examining what is actually taking place. And to observe what is actually taking place, one must look without the response of the past shaping it. From that pure observation there is action. That is intelligence. And that is also the extraordinary thing called love and compassion. So the mind has this quality of intelligence, and naturally with that intelligence goes compassion, love. It's like a rock in the midst of a stream, in the midst of a river. Immovable. Everything, you follow? So such a mind, because it's understood relationship with each other, we went into that. Relationship is not based on image. You have an image about me and I have an image about her. And our relationship is that, from image to image. You know all this, don't you? So the mind is now, has this quality of great stability. And that which is stable is silent. Right? Are you following all this? Have you gone into, you understand, to be absolutely clear, to have clarity which can then examine any problem. That clarity is stability. You understand? It's only the mind that's confused, contradictory, broken up, that's unstable, neurotic, seeking, striving, struggling. So we've come to a point where the mind is totally clear and therefore completely immovable. You understand? Immovable, not the sense of a mountain, but immovable in the sense that it is so completely, has no problem, you've got all that, therefore it's extraordinarily stable and therefore pliable. Right? Now, such a mind is quiet. And you need to have a mind that's absolutely silent, absolutely, not relatively. There is the silence when you go of an evening in the woods. There is great silence. All the birds have gone to bed. The wind, the whisper of the leaves have ended. There is great stillness. There is the outward stillness. And people observe that stillness and say, I must have that stillness, and therefore depend on the stillness of being alone. You understand? Beings in a solitude. That's not stillness. And there is the stillness created by thought, which is, thought says, I must be still. I must be quiet. I mustn't chatter. And gradually it produces a stillness. But that's not it, because it's the result of thought operating on noise. Right? So we are talking of a stillness which is not dependent on anything. And it is only that quality of stillness, that absolute silence of the mind, that can see that which is eternal, timeless, nameless. This is meditation. Right?